We're going to get my thoughts on the Whit Merrifield craziness that has been happening over the past couple of days. We're also going to talk about our favorite games of the year in 2023, and we're going to get into some happenings over on Twitter, including some questions from you guys, as well as the videos of Bryce Miller. Thank you guys for watching episode 54, the Goose Gossage episode of the Hit It Here podcast, part of the Bleav Network. I'm here with Joe. Joe, how are you?
I think you got fed that one from the comments last time, right?
I did?
I think someone commented the Goose Gossage episode.
Did they? Dude.
Yeah, I think so.
The very last year of his career, he was number 54 for the Seattle Mariners.
I have another sneaky 54. I'll see if you say it at the end.
Okay.
But I'm doing well. And I had a big long stream today about the Whit Merrifield discussion. And you put out a tweet yesterday talking about, there's this interesting crowd of people, whether or not they think that Whit Merrifield is better or worse than Sam Haggerty and Dylan Moore. And, we had a pretty open conversation about it during stream. But of course, that was only my end of the bargain, if you will. So, Colton, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
What are your thoughts on Whit Merrifield?
I don't hate it. I think it's fine. I think that Whit Merrifield does make sense on this roster to an extent. Like, it doesn't make sense to give the guy $10 million. No. With where the Mariners are, where their budget, what their budget is, it doesn't make sense to give Whit Merrifield $10 million. Could he, be over there at second base with Josh Rojas, move Josh Rojas to third, maybe? I'm not sure. Overall, this all stemmed because of the comments he made on MLB Network saying, oh, Seattle's my favorite place to hit, blah, blah, blah. Cool. Teo said a very similar thing. And Teo didn't hit well in T-Mobile Park. So it's something that a lot of people took it further than it needed to go, us included. We were talking about with Merrifield. I think that it does make sense if he's willing to take like $5 million or $6 million, maybe. Okay. There are people out there saying that he is no better than Dylan Moore. I completely disagree with that. Over the past couple of years, has Sam Haggerty put up better-ish numbers than Whit Merrifield? Sure. But overall, there's a reason Whit Merrifield was an all-star last year, other than the fact that, all of Canada was voting for him. He's a guy who's done it for 4,000 at-bats. Why would we think he would just stop doing it now when he came to Seattle? He's done it for 4,000 at-bats. Dylan Moore has been injury-plagued the last couple of years. There's no guarantee that he's not going to be injury-plagued in 2024. I mean, you look at his entire season last year. 2023 is basically a lost season for him. He had that core injury, and then, he got rushed back too soon and was hurt again. Sam Haggerty is a guy who you just cannot count on to not get overexposed when he starts to see more playing time. We've seen it every year with him. He starts to get more exposed. He started it out in 2022 in limited at-bats. He was hitting he had a 146 WRC plus, fell down to 102 when he started playing every day and when he had over 100 at-bats. 2023, he had, I think, 80 at-bats, and he wasn't that great. Mm-hmm. So overall, Whit Merrifield is consistent. You know what you're going to get out of Whit Merrifield. You can put him in the corner outfield if you need to. Maybe you want to give Luke Raley a day off his feet or something like that. You could put Whit out there and move, Josh Rojas to second base. And Ty Dang Gonzalez and I had this conversation as well, that just because you have Whit Merrifield doesn't mean you can't also have Dylan Moore, because they can both fill similar roles, yes. But with that being said, you could also have both of them in the lineup on any given day, because realistically, you're facing a tough lefty. You'd probably want Dylan Moore in there over Dominic Canzone. And so if you have both those guys in the lineup, maybe Merrifield at second base and Dylan Moore in left field or something, those two can coexist. Sam Haggerty, on the other hand, it just doesn't make sense to really keep him around when it adds to the whole utility player thing, right? Luis Urias, Josh Rojas, I would consider kind of a utility player. Whit Merrifield, Dylan Moore, Sam Haggerty. You have a bunch of them, but of that group, the one that you can rely on the most is Whit Merrifield. You know what you're going to get out of him. So in the end, I think it's fine. Although you and I have talked about this a little bit, and it just makes more sense to sign Donovan Solano.
Before we get to Donovan Solano, is that Whit Merrifield's a safer bet than Dylan Moore or Sam Haggerty. And here's a word from BetOnline. BetOnline is one of our favorite partners to work with as part of the Bleav Network. When you head to BetOnline and use promo code Bleav, on your first deposit, you're going to get a 50% off welcome bonus. The NFL playoffs are right around the corner, and there's no strings attached for the Seattle sports fans, unless for some reason you're an out-of-Seattle sports fan for football, because unfortunately, the Seahawks did get eliminated. But no strings attached means you can place bets wherever you feel like without your emotions getting too heavily involved. And say you're not an NFL bettor, maybe you like the NBA more. obviously BetOnline has you covered there. And going even further down the line, they've got the NHL, they've got every major sport that you guys can think of. So head to BetOnline to place those bets today. They've got you covered with all the up to the second odds, news, and scores. And they've got additional odds, lines, and trends. And that info is available to you on both desktop and mobile. So you can access the world's best wagering info anytime, anywhere, any place. Remember, that's code BLEAV for your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, it's where the game starts. So Donovan Solano is one that I think also just it's been in the conversation with Whit Merrifield because they're just very similar, I think, acquisitions. They're an aging veteran that can provide you utility in some form of the infield. Whit Merrifield gives you a little bit more in the outfield, but Donovan Solano probably provides you a better bat or just a better overall plate approach because he gets on base a little bit at a higher rate than Merrifield. Like Merrifield he hit like 270 last year, but his OBP was like 318. Like dude just doesn't get on base aside from hitting singles. And something I brought up in the stream, it's very different situations. Do not take this as I'm comparing them as a one-to-one thing. But like if you look at Whit Merrifield's best season, which was in 2018, he led the entire league in hits, I think at 206. His WRC plus was only like 110. Okay? Because it's singles. He doesn't like do much other than just string together hits, which is great. That can work. A guy that did that as a career was Ichiro Suzuki. Like I'm not gonna I'm not saying they're the same thing, but like think about Whit Merrifield getting not 590 at bats or whatever he got with the Blue Jays last year. Limit those down to 350, 400, where he's in a more supplementary role instead of a primary role. You're probably going to get a healthier, more active Whit Merrifield. And I'd say the same thing for Donovan Solano as well. Is like they're not going to be in as premier roles as they were with like Solano's with the Twins last year. And he's going to be a more fill-in spot guy, whereas previously he was more of an everyday kind of fixture in a lineup. And another name that got brought up in the stream was Adam Frazier. Why not just bring him back? A similar situation. I think out of those three, you'd get similar production, I think, in terms of playing out of all three. Like Frazier gives you, I think, a little bit more flexibility in terms of fielding because I think he might have a little bit more left in the tank than Whit Merrifield, but like Whit Merrifield is more proven, but then Donovan Solano is just the better hitter out of all three. So like pick your poison. It's like the, whatever. But do they really move the needle that much, I think is the conversation. Do we have them at home already is the running meme for us, for you specifically, of like, do we really need like another like Dylan Moore, Sam Haggerty clone? And like, yeah, I mean, we could always use a guy that has this track record of 4,000 at bats, what you're saying, and he's doing it at a pretty high clip. Whereas like Sam Haggerty, he's only ever seen like max like 200 at bats in a season.
He's seen 400 in his career.
Right? And he's still below Whit Merrifield in terms of overall production. Yes, that is including Whit Merrifield from 5 years ago, but those intangible skills of like just bat to ball skills don't necessarily go away overnight. And yes, we did have this same conversation about Colton Wong last year. Of course, like the air around these types of acquisitions, sure, they're looming large. However, with where the roster is standing right now, this undoubtedly raises the floor because it just provides you more depth should an injury occur. Now you have Sam Haggerty waiting for you in the minors, right?
Does he have options left?
I think he has one.
Okay. So the way I look at this, okay, so if we're comparing Dylan Moore and Whit Merrifield, Dylan Moore has a career 30% strikeout rate.
Yeah.
Case closed. That's the end of that story. Whit Merrifield has a career 17%, well below league average. Dylan Moore has literally doubled that. Mm-hmm. So I mean, Whit Merrifield's a better player. There's no doubt about it. Can Demo, does he play a role? Absolutely. And Sam Haggerty has a career like 25% strikeout rate, I think. I mean, if the goal is to cut strikeouts, you go with Whit Merrifield. With that being said, Donovan Solano has like a 21, I think, percent career strikeout rate. Like that's not terrible, and obviously that's doable. He's right around league average in that. So Whit Merrifield doesn't take walks though either. That's why his OBP is so low. But I don't know. I mean, like I don't know which guy I would rather have in this situation. If all the money was the same, if Solano, Frazier, and Merrifield were all going to get paid $1 million, let's just say, just to make the money even, I think I would rather have Whit Merrifield. Honestly, I mean, He might be a good clubhouse guy. I'm not sure. I mean, he seems like a cool dude, right? Like he goes on shows all the time, and people seem to like him. So,
Yeah.
Adam Frazier. I mean, we know Adam Frazier, right? And he has one of the biggest hits in Mariners history. So bringing him back, I mean, I know that a lot of people didn't love him. I mean, I loved him when he first came over. I was like, that's my second baseman. It's my leadoff hitter. And then he fell off the face of the earth. But I don't know. I think that there's definitely something to be said there. I do think a right-handed hitter makes more sense, just for the way the lineup is currently constructed over there at second base. But Adam Frazier, again, maybe he comes back and what do you think he'd sign for? Probably a 1 year, like $3 million, $4 million deal.
I think I would go Solano at like 4 or 5, Frazier like at like 6, like in between them, and then Merrifield. We were talking about it in the stream, like anywhere between like 1 and I was saying like 7.5. I'd be fine with to 8. Someone said they'd be like, yeah, 1 for 10, I'm in, and I was like, whoa, that's a lot of money. And then people were weighing like the option of like, did we sign him for 2 years? Like they'd want him 2 for 12, and I was like, I guess if you're like wanting 36-year-old Whit Merrifield in 2025, but you know. I think for the money given, I'd be fine with giving Whit Merrifield $7.5, $8 million. I think that's probably where he's at. Like, I can't imagine him wanting more than that, personally.
On a 1 year deal, I don't really care how much you give him. It's 1 year. You know what I mean?
Like, that doesn't like impact like your ability to play with money within the season.
Well, I mean,
we all have to the Mariners payroll, right?
Yeah. It's like knowing the Mariners payroll, it doesn't matter. They didn't sell enough hot dogs, so therefore that they're not going to be able to go out and sign or trade for player X. Sorry.
Sure.
Like, I don't know. It's if this is the last bat they go out and get, which all indications point to that happening, if not them going into the season with this current team as it is constructed. I mean, like we've talked about before, we're a little less than 4 weeks away from pitchers and catchers reporting. Like it's coming up, and I mean there are still guys out there like Bellinger, Tommy Pham's still out there, Blake Snell's like there's still some premier talent out there, and we're talking about Whit Merrifield and whatnot. It's because that's where we are as Mariners fans with this payroll. But if that's the topper to the offseason, then fine. Whatever. It is what it is. If they do decide to use that money in season, then maybe I change my answer. But as of right now, I'm still going with Merrifield over any of the others.
The offseason, it's kind of coming to a close here pretty quickly, like you're saying. So we got a little message over on Twitter asking what were our top 5 games from 2020. I think it said 2, but we're going to do 2023 because we don't want to go that far reminiscing. And we're also going to cut it down to 3 because, well, picking 10 games, we might run into the same one, So for me, my first one, this is probably in no order because I'll probably forget them as it goes on. But the first one that stands out to me is JP's walk-off against the Rangers. I think it's a pretty sound one. I was tasked with recording the post-game like recap or video for that because that's what we were doing at the end of the year for content, and I chose to record myself reacting to it, and it was hype. It was the best game I think I could have chosen to do that to. Walk off, like just to keep yourselves in it. The him dropping the F-bomb live. It was very, very nice.
It's very good vibes.
Yes.
I think I'll go again. No specific order here. I'll go with Teo's walk off over the Blue Jays. That was a good one. I mean, it just felt so right. I remember like yelling and saying, "God, I hope he's back next year." Now here we are. It's just like it just felt so good for Teoscar Hernandez to come. And I mean that when he hit that home run in Rogers Center as well, like it was just cool to see. Even the Blue Jays fans were clapping for Teoscar Hernandez, which was super cool because people like Teo. Like I still love Teo, even if he's not going to be here next year. I love Teo, and I think that game just really solidified that for me as being. I mean, that was one of the best games that I'd seen. Unfortunately, I was watching it from the comfort of my own couch instead of the comfort of a seat down the first baseline. But what are you gonna do?
Nonetheless, I'm gonna backpack here on a little Teoscar Hernandez hype. The guy who hit the first, I think it was the first run scored in our Mojo meetup day, right? He had a solo shot, I think, in like early on in the game, I think. It was against the Royals Sunday the 29th, I think.
Something
maybe
like
the 30th. I can't remember. If you were there, and it was off. Who was pitching for the Royals that day? Was it Jordan Lyles or was that the day before?
I don't remember.
All I know
is Luke Weaver started for the Seattle Mariners.
No, it was Castillo.
No.
Yeah.
No, didn't Or
No,
was that the game that you and I went to that Luke Weaver started?
because George Kirby got sick against the Athletics.
That's right. Okay, that was the game that you and I went to, huh?
Where we met radio host girl. I can't remember her name right now.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
So we were at Mariner Mojo meetup. We were out in the J-Rod squad, and one of the members, Code Red, clocked the fact that Teo hit a home run off the bat. Like, it was like within seconds of him connecting, he just goes, "Oh, that's gone." And we were all just like watching it fly. It was a little bit to our right because we're in the J-Rod squad, so it was a little bit more to dead center, but it was a missile. And they ended up winning the game. I think that was the day that they took first place for in August. Big month for the Mariners, so another good vibes game for us there.
Okay, well, if we're going with not just like what happened in the game, but also what we were doing at the game,
Sure.
I'm gonna go with the game that you and I stood in the stairwell, and the Mariners won that game. I don't remember anything about that game. I just know that I really enjoyed it. I think they were playing the Rays, right?
Yeah, that was the Tom Murphy had a big home run.
Yeah,
to put us ahead. Another Castillo. It was a bad start from Castillo.
Yes, it was.
And we were worried that they weren't going to be able to climb their way out of it, but the Mariners offense pulled through somehow, some way. I think that was that when France ran into Paredes? Or no. Yeah.
Yeah, that was the same game. Yeah, same game.
Everyone was freaking out about whether or not France did it on purpose or, whatever, using the base path. We were just watching it from deep in center.
Dude, I really like standing there.
It's a good spot.
Like, it's a really good view.
I think that's an underrated spot in the stadium. It's just like that stairwell out in center.
Buy the cheapest possible ticket you can and just stand out there.
I mean, they're standing room only tickets. Unless that's not the cheapest, but I'd assume that's the cheapest, no?
I mean, I don't think their standing room only tickets exist all the time.
Oh.
I think it might only be for sellouts.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense then.
Anyways, what's your what's the next one / your last one / your number one?
My last one, I think, did not occur in T-Mobile Park. It occurred in the Coliseum, Bryce Miller's debut. And it was a pitcher's duel. We were getting shut out by Mason Miller that game. And I was worried that, Bryce Miller was going to get Felixed in his first ever start. But AJ Pollock came up clutch with a big home run late in the game, which feels like a fever dream at this point. But Bryce Miller punched out 10 in his debut in the Oakland rain, mind you. I also caught, I think, 2 foul balls that game.
Because you were the only one in the stands.
Hey,
Zach Campbell was there, though, wasn't he?
No, that's a different one. But
okay.
It was right place at the right time. I just happened to be there, and bang. It was a good one.
So I'm kind of torn on this one. I'm between the Cade Marlowe Grand Slam and the Geno walk-off versus the Pirates.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go with Geno's walk-off versus the Pirates just because, it's Geno, and God, I'm going to miss that guy. But that game, I remember I was at my grandparents' house. We were meeting my cousin's kid or something like that who was 2 months old at the time.
Sure.
And I was sitting there watching it on my phone, and he hit it, and I was like, oh my God. Dad. And he's talking. I'm like, Dad, listen to me. Look at this. Yeah. And I don't know. It's just because it just brought back the memories of the Braves game from 2022 and the Apple TV game where he's like, I did it or whatever, when he hit the walk-off home run. It's God, I'm going to miss Geno so much. I want to throw a wrench here. I think we talked about this already, but let's do top 3 favorite moments from the year.
What do you individual things?
Individual things. So games, I feel yes, but individual moments. And you can say the JP walk-off because yes, that was
just doubled down on it. I'm gonna say Kelenich's home run into the night, not the 482-foot one, but the one he hit off the scoreboard the night before. It just the cameraman lost it into the night sky. I thought that seeing that made it feel like he was ready. He was here. It was there was no more fluke situation early on in the year. He got every ounce of that baseball.
I'm gonna go with probably a gimme, but I have to go with it, and that's Dom Canzone's home run off the windows. That was such a freaking cool moment. 2 outs, bottom of the 9th, down by 1 against the best team in the American League. And he just, new guy to the Mariners, just pimps it, bat flip and everything off the windows. Really thought the Mariners were going to come back and win it, and they almost did if it wasn't for Cedric Mullins.
Yeah, that Cedric Mullins robbing Ty France the at-bat before is such a criminal thing to do, knowing what happens next.
Because that would have been a walk-off. instead of just a game tire. Yeah.
I think I'm gonna jump on, pimping a home run off the Orioles. I'm gonna go Mike Ford off,
Yeah.
the King Felix in Baltimore. We end up losing that game too,
Uh-huh.
but like taking the best closer, maybe the best pitcher in the league in 2023 deep, and it's Mike Ford. Like, what planet was he on to be able to just sit dead red 102 and just take it out? Like, he
I
did not
completely
miss a
agree.
beat.
Okay, well, I'm just gonna keep going with home runs where we lost, and I'm gonna go with Colton Wong's home run against the Twins.
Yeah.
Which was on my birthday, by the way. And it's like, so I'm sitting there watching the game, like, no shot the Mariners are gonna lose to the Twins on my birthday. Come on! And then Colton Wong comes up, and I'm like, well,
It was off Griffin
this is
Jacks.
it. That sounds right, yeah. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what happened. He just runs into one, and over the right field fence, and I'm screaming like a little schoolgirl. Mariners still lost the game. But then Colton Wong was just in the dugout, hugging the trident. God, that was so cool. That was such a cool moment.
It's a good, like, feel good moment for a very bad, like, season and situation. Like, you didn't want anything like that to happen, but like ultimately it did. Something that is standing out to me that I don't know if it will make sense, but when George Kirby caught the final out of the 9th inning against the Orioles, where it's a little pop-up between catcher and first, and he's like pointing at it like, who's gonna get it, and I think Cal was catching, he was all turned around, France wasn't really close, and he just runs over and snags it, like
spikes it,
and then spikes the ball because he was mad at like the umpire from like a previous call. That was such like that's just a him moment. Like he was in full control that entire game. It's a shame that they lost that one too. Talking about good moments, we're talking about losses, but that just felt like that was just a very cool moment to watch. Like, just he had taken over the entire game up until like all the way up until that like last out as well.
Yeah, that was, I mean, looking at George Kirby in the year he put together, that was his defining moment, I think. Like in 2022, he had the postseason game against the Astros where he shut down that lineup for 8 innings or whatever it was, and then 2023 he had that. Obviously, some other like some rough moments for George as well in 2023. Gosh, I don't necessarily know if I have a final one. All
right, Mr. Wrench.
JP's walk-off is just too Can I pick a moment that has nothing to do with a game?
Sure.
My favorite moment was the party at the pier, like in downtown Seattle, for the celebration of the City Connect jerseys.
Okay.
That was so cool. Like going out there, I met some people, some fans while we were down there. And it was just like the vibes were cool. Met Cal there, met Rick Riz for the 5,000th time. Had some drinks down there on the pier. It was such a cool moment. You know what I mean? I was hanging out with my parents, because I don't have any other friends, Joe.
You're not going to talk about Harold Reynolds?
I met Harold Reynolds.
There you go. Like, that was the whole point of like the video and like what you made from it. But
yeah. Making that video is kind of, up there as well from 2023. Just one of my favorite things I did.
Just a cool moment. What about the home run derby with Simply Seattle? I feel like that was pretty fire.
That was really fun as well.
I was sad that I couldn't be there in person for it, but I had a lot of fun like recording like the training video for it, whatever. Like it was just cool.
Yeah, that was a very fun time. I hope they do something like that again this year. Like that was, I mean, obviously, home run derby's not here and whatnot, but
yeah,
well, it was so much fun.
Yeah,
I mean, I could just say, my favorite moment was the the home run derby.
Yeah, you were literally at the All-Star.
I was literally at the All-Star game, the home run derby. Why the hell did I not just say watching Julio hit 1 million home runs in the first round? Whatever. I don't know. Dude, last year feels like 1,000 years ago at this point.
I mean, it's a season that I think a lot of us want to forget, but there was a lot of good in 2020.
A lot of good.
A lot of good.
I mean, experiencing the All-Star game with my dad was like such a cool thing. Like I remember after the game itself, the All-Star game, we just sat down there in some seats that weren't ours. We were just, everyone else had left. My dad and I were just sitting there taking it all in still. It's pretty cool.
It's a very, just good vibes.
Mm-hmm.
Good vibes.
You know what else gives me good vibes, Joe?
What's that, Colton?
This transition that I'm about to do to talk about Bryce Miller, who looks really, really good on Twitter. He's working on that Twitter.
Yeah.
Did you see that Mike Cameron said that he had a tell though?
Yeah, the glove flapping.
The glove, yeah.
Yeah. No,
I was like,
that's
oh,
smart.
Bryce.
And
I didn't notice it when I first watched it.
same.
And
I mean, he himself replied. Like he was like, I think he did
yeah,
like the
just
saluting emoji. It's just, I don't know. Good. Bryce Miller's probably like he's the top social media person because of his camera roll, like
mhm.
all the funny pictures he has, and he's always posting the bullpens. Just very, very good stuff from Bryce. I'm excited for his splitter. You know, that's if he can tunnel that pitch with his very, 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 very good fastball, like the back end of this rotation is just it's I think it's gonna be better than people might imagine.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, if Wu takes another step, if Bryce Miller takes that next step, and everyone else is just who they are, I mean, if you're the Mariners, you are sitting pretty with your rotation, barring injury, of course, which is always the caveat when it comes to rotation
Mm-hmm.
and just pitching in general. But yeah, I don't know. I think that the more that the closer we get to the season, the happier I am that the Mariners didn't trade any of these guys. Like, I
Yes.
just think that if that is your strength, you just got to lean into your strength at this point. You don't have the payroll to go out there and make the additions necessary, then lean into your strength and make it better than anybody else. Like, that's just plain and simple what the Mariners are going to have to do now in 2024. We'll see if it works. Like, who knows? And could you trade Bryce Miller, Brian Wu next year if you need a bat? Sure. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But who knows if like Jerry and Justin still have a job. But
A
yeah, it's
lot of
we'll have to
question
wait and see.
marks.
And speaking of question marks, Joe, another question mark that I have is this next transition I'm going to make
Uh-huh.
is talking about some questions we got on Twitter. Hit me with them.
So, you know, we were sat here not necessarily feeling totally inspired about what we should talk about. So we took it to Twitter and we just said, "Hey, what should we talk about tomorrow?" And to say that we got some replies of all time would be an understatement.
Yeah, thank
So,
you guys.
yeah, thank you so much. Alex at Class A 80 Speed said, "Which Mariner would make the best kicker?" I think Cal's a probably pretty safe answer. Big
You think
dumper.
so?
Big legs, right? Like big leg power is what I
Does
would
it have
go
to be a
with.
current Mariner, or can it just be like?
I'm gonna keep it to current Mariners
Mm.
personally, but
So
if
I
you
can't say Gino.
if you'd like, oh, I mean, good soccer skills. You know,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true. He can keep you uppies with the baseball. Hmm.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna go with if I can't say
You can
Gino.
say Gino. I'll give you Gino. He hasn't played for the Diamondbacks yet, right?
True. True. There's still time for the Mariners to reacquire him.
Exactly. Exactly. Up next, we have the Chaos Ball podcast at Chaos Ball 1977. Michael Saunders' 2014 season. Colton, he was special, wasn't he?
Yeah.
It was a year of years, you said.
The year of years.
I mean, that was his best year with the Mariners. I'd say, like in
He had
terms
like
of
20-ish home runs, right?
no, bro,
19.
no, he only played in 78 games. It was his
Oh.
best year based around like not counting stats, but like average and like OPS plus. He hit 273, 341, 450 with a 791 OPS with a 128 OPS plus. His career high. In 231 at-bats, he hit 8 homers and drove in 34 runs. What could have been for Michael Saunders? Just,
The Condor, baby.
2 years away from an all-star appearance with Toronto.
Yeah, after his first year in Toronto played in 9 games because he broke his ankle or whatever he did on a sprinkler head in spring training.
A little fun fact.
Keeping you guys updated.
So Jake, you love to see it from the You Love to See It podcast at Mariners Jersey said, "I'd imagine something Mariners related would work. Hope this helps." So
Thanks
up
for nothing,
next
Jake.
is Jason M at Sanj. Oh, I've never known the at SANJAROMIN Sanjaroman. Sure. He said stuff, and I responded and things, and he said yes, both stuff and things. So Colton, any stuff you want to talk about?
I think that stuff is good,
Mm.
but some stuff isn't.
Yeah, like things. Would you say things are stuff?
I think that things may be stuff, but not all stuff are things.
I took the words right out of my mouth, man. See, that's why you're here.
Okay.
And then last one, Steven. This is from Twitter. Last one from Twitter. Steven at Taco Sriracha said, "Keep it entirely 100% positive. Parentheses, I'm a Mariners/Bills fan. I'm not having the best of days." I think we've kept it pretty positive. Pretty positive Pete over here.
Yeah, I'd say
As
so.
we try and do pretty often, you know? We do our best, but we are going to go to a dark place here really quickly.
Yeah. Haley Steinfeld's dating Josh Allen.
No, that's not the point I'm going to make.
That's a dark place for me.
All right. Well, just keep that to yourself next time, maybe. In the Discord, the members only Discord that may or may not be not members only soon-ish, soft launch. We asked any questions out there in the world in the Discord as well, and we got one from our man Dylan B. Shout out Dylan. If Colton was a worm, would I still make content with him? And I said no. I can't have a conversation with a worm. I'm going to bring not Colton back to the podcast. That's my first. The moment you turn into a worm, not Colton is making another appearance.
I feel like your brain is literally a worm. That's all it is. It's a little guy in there.
What are you talking about?
I think that we'd get along great. You could put me in your pocket. Take me on trips.
Why would I have to put you in my pocket? I feel like I'd lose you in my pocket if you were a worm. You'd crawl out.
Why would I crawl out? I'm safe.
Are you?
I'm happy to be with my friend.
Why am I in possession of you in this situation?
I don't know,
am I your caretaker once you turn into a worm?
I can't open the door as a worm. I can't turn on the computer as a worm. I'm gonna need some help.
Green frog's gonna eat you.
Green frog's gone.
Or brown frog.
Brown frog's also gone.
There's so much lore that we're unpacking right now that
nobody understands.
But that's okay, because maybe one day you will.
Thank you guys so much for watching episode 54, the John Halama episode of the Hit It Here podcast, or the Tom Wilhelmsen. Either of those what you were thinking?
No. Hold on. I need to go see if this is actually who he did wear number 54. Also, you're not slick, by the way. You're on the jersey tracker thing, like the almanac site. Oh, never mind. I was wrong. I'm not going to say who it was because I'm embarrassed. It was Brandon League. He was 43.
Oh.
So it was one numerical section down of like the pattern, 54, 43, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
32.
no, I am on the almanac site, but I can do that because this is my thing.
It's your thing.
It's
not
my thing.
His thing.
No, it's not your thing.
That's what I'm saying.
You didn't want to do it.
I didn't say I didn't want to do it.
I didn't know John Halama, but I did know Tom Wilhelmsen.
Yeah, I mean, we're not gonna.
Also, Shin-Soo Choo, Emilio Pagan, Andres Munoz in 2021, Sergio Romo, Jose Rodriguez. Anyone else interesting? My God.
Wasn't Luis Castillo?
No, he was 58.
Oh, that's right. It's coming up.
Shin-Soo Choo.
You already said him.
Did I?
Yeah.
Names, dude. Thank you guys so much for watching episode 54, the Shin-Soo Choo episode of the Hit It Here podcast, presented by Bet Online, and Go Mariners.